let's talk about the magnetic field design pickup. This is one of the core technologies about G&L I'd mentioned. The magnetic field design is, again, it's Leo Fender problem solving. And what he was trying to accomplish was, how can we get more output from the pickup without adding more noise and without adding increased spikes, right? Let's say we use larger magnets in here, and they were just slugs. Let's say they had Alnico, let's say slugs, like they had been prior. And these Alnico slugs, let's say as they get bigger and bigger, it's going to even make more of a spike, like kind of a signal spike right as that string passes over there. So in the 1970s, Leo really started to look at magnet technologies and thought, okay, how can we do this differently? How can we arrange the coil and magnet differently that might yield us, say, a broader, smoother magnetic field than we could by just using larger magnets coming up through the coil? Okay, we've flown in a picture of the cross-section of the ASAT special pickup. So to see how it's constructed there, you can, as you look through there, you can see, okay, I can see the coil of wire there, and you can see in the top, you can see what are the pole pieces with their little Allen hex screw adjustments on them. But beneath that, beneath the bobbin of the coil, you can see there's a keeper plate, and then there's this large bar magnet. In Leo's traditional pickup design, where the pole is coming up through the coil, you can imagine, okay, the top of the pole, let's say the top of the pole is north and the bottom of the magnet is south, right? So it's looking, that magnet is trying to make its shortest distance, if you can, the magnetic field around there. It wants to go from, let's say, the top to the bottom. It just wants to make this nice little short little trip as close as it can right around there. As that string passes over there, it could make it a little bit more spiky. So what Leo thought is, hey, if I can just create a broad magnetic field, so that's provided by that magnet that you see on the bottom. It has all one polarity facing up through the coil. So the benefit of that is he could get more energy out of that pickup for a given amount of turns, and therefore, as a consequence, a little bit lower noise as well. So the magnetic field design, it manages to have this sense of fullness about it. It has a nice bottom, yet it has a nice sparkly top. Oftentimes with a traditional pickup, if, hey, let's make that hotter, you know those sacrifices, like, okay, I'm going to start losing my top end sparkle. You know how that is. This design with its broad magnetic field, it really let you have a fair amount of bottom end, top end. It's still a solid mid-range. And Leo was also interested in having these pickups mate very well with the electronics and the controls. We'll go into that later. So I think we've flown in the picture of the ASAT special pickup so you can see how that single coil was constructed. The ASAT special pickups, we call them jumbo MFD, but they're actually fairly narrow, the bobbin aperture, meaning how deep does that pickup go, the coil? It's actually shallow. So they're in a little bit, almost sort of Jazzmaster-ish, but smaller. They're their own things. There's really nothing like them. And that's one of the things that makes this guitar an ASAT special. If somebody wants this, there is no substitute. It's a unique Leo Fender experience, and a lot of that is due to these pickups in here, the magnetic field design pickups. The bass humbuckers, you see again the adjustable pole pieces on them, and I think we've flown in a picture also of a cross-section of this bass humbucker, so it looks like you're kind of coming at it this way. But again, you see the pole pieces, you see the coil, and you can see the keeper plate, and you can see the magnet beneath it. But that one bar magnet has everything rating one polarity up. So it just creates this nice, big, broad magnetic field around here. So we can get a lot of string energy, we can get a lot of harmonics, and a lot of energy without excessive sort of spikiness in the pickup, if you will. That was one of the troubles when, of course, when you're just trying to increase, let's add turns, let's add more of the same thing. You quickly start to find the limits of those things where it's like, okay, this just isn't worth it anymore. So Leo Fender, being a problem solver, was like, okay, how can we try to break through that? And the magnetic field design principle, That's something that he spent a lot of time working on in the late 70s here at CLF Research. From the best we could tell, it looked like 1977 and mostly 1978 is when he was really heavily into the development of the magnetic field design concept. And of course, that concept, those debuted on G&L guitars in 1980.